Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Microgreen Thumbcast with myself, Mike, and Andy as well here. Today, we're here for round two, if you could say. Last time we tackled some myths, went over a couple of them. Today, I think we have three myths we're going to try to get to and finish this off of what we think are like the top five or just five myths that are very common out there that people talk about. So we'll be going over that. If you ever been told that you needed a bunch of fancy gear to get started and there's no room left for growers, I hear that one a lot. This one's for you because I hear that a lot, Andy. I don't know about you, but I hear a lot that, oh, there's a grower already in my city, I can't grow.
Yeah, all the time. And I know, people like Robert Meredith have one of the biggest microgreen farms in Florida, right
Yeah,
down the street from him, and he's still doing just fine. So, competition's only competition if you don't feel like being up to the task to actually take them down. So, yeah,
exactly.
don't worry about that process. There's plenty of room.
Plenty of room. There's so many avenues to sell this stuff. Plenty of room. Yeah. How was your week, Andy?
It was
The
good.
last 2 weeks,
Yeah,
I guess.
the today was day 3 of grueling workout program that my wife and I are doing. So we worked out the last 3 days. I'm just exhausted today. And unfortunately, we got the one of the big food bank deliveries coming up this week. So it's one of our bigger harvest days coming up on Wednesday. So I'm sure I'll be nice and sore the following day, but it's always fun going the next day and actually handing the stuff out to people, which is awesome. So definitely looking forward to that this week.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you get to go and hand it out at the food banks. We do food bank as well. We actually got orders for the next four out of 5 weeks here for them. But we don't get to go hand it out. We just give it to the distributing centers, and then they kind of go and distribute it out to their little smaller ones. So it's one big area, then they divide it out to the other areas, their little ones. So we never really get to see where it's coming from, but we've had people reach out and call us and say thank you for giving it to them. But we don't actually get to go hand it out. So that's pretty cool. I like that you get to do that.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. I mean, it's kind of a neat process to be able to go in there and have people be able to try stuff. And oftentimes, like they typically only get old food or stuff that's close to expiring or things like that. So, and this is stuff that's harvested the day before, so it's
Yeah.
super fresh. And oftentimes the one of the hardest things to get is like a fresh salad or something like that. But they have this produce day, as they call it, once per month. So all these farmers donate just tons of produce, and that's basically all they get. So they walk through, and it's all produce from start to finish.
Nice.
So they do that one time I think it's the fourth Thursday every month. So we get to go and be part of that, which is awesome. But we're the only farmer there that actually shows up, to hand the stuff out. So I mean, they're probably getting everything else from like grocery stores and things like that. So it's kind of a neat process to be able to do. So
Yeah.
I didn't know that it's going right literally into the county that we live in and help out the people that live here is even more awesome. So it's definitely a nice plus.
Yeah, it's awesome. Anytime you get to be able to do stuff like that, that is just awesome to be able to give back a
Yeah.
little bit with your time, even. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Before
What about
we
yours? Sorry, I should have
go
asked.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
How was your week?
Oh, how was my week? Oh, well, this week that we're getting into tomorrow for harvest is a big food bank order that we're doing 4 out of the next 5 weeks. So these weeks will be quite busy, but that's a good thing. So we like being busy and everything else because more revenue into the business and everything.
Yeah.
We're hopefully getting somebody to work the farmers market for us, so we don't have to do that anymore. And that be able to have a almost full day off of work on a Saturday. So that will be nice. So that's the goal for this week, is to set all that up. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
All right. That's about us. So you guys, make sure you like this podcast, like this this. If you're over on YouTube, make sure you like it, share it out, make comments. We will answer questions as we go along if they're pertinent to what we're talking about. If not, we will answer all the questions at the end. So don't hesitate to go ahead and put the questions in. Jess is in the back, and she will capture all the questions that we need to answer at the end. So you can stay around for that. We will do that only live for the people here are live. But make sure you like, comment, share this out. It helps us out tremendously to grow this out and get some better information out to the microgreen industry. As that said, we talked about a little bit of last week about bad advice spreading fast, especially online. You get on Facebook groups, you can get in some of them free groups, and you can get a lot of bad advice out there. I know you've seen that in the past of some of them other microgreen groups that other people run, not your groups, but some other groups that just let things go wild.
Yeah, we try and keep ours under control and try and correct people. I mean, it's I tend to keep an eye on most of the posts and just make sure that nobody's giving bad advice. And if they are, then I'll correct them. And if there's a post, which typically, I mean, thankfully we've got a lot of experts in our 2 groups that we do that help answer those questions before I can even get to them. Half the time, I'll usually like their comment just to kind of help push it up there a little bit more. But yeah, you can definitely get tons of horrible advice. And that's why I like going through the myths and the lies and the the things that are out there to try and help you guys out. That's why we're doing this one and last week's as well. So if you missed last week's, go to either Itty Bitty Micro Farm on YouTube, or you can go to my channel. Both of them have that. You can go back and watch last week's episode and see what was missed. So yeah, definitely lots of crap out there that is bad advice. Unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately. And don't get yourself stuck in any of these belief traps. Come to people that actually have done this and grown and built a business for years, everything else. Don't get stuck in somebody who's not even growing, giving you advice 99% of the time. Somebody giving you free advice online. A lot of the times, if you don't know them, you don't know they're reputable, they're probably not know what they're talking about, just to be honest. Go to reputable people that have done this. Not just me and Andy. I honestly, we're here, but there's plenty of other people out there that talk about this that do a good job too. So search out real answers from real people. Just do some checks on them. Make sure they're actually growers. Some did it in the past, but haven't grown themselves or done their business for years now. So they're not in it and they don't understand what's going on today. We know what's going on today because we're both in it. Andy's still working the business. We work the business, so definitely take advice from people that are actually working the business. That's my advice anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree. I mean, if they have 1 or 2 racks and that's it, they have no idea how to run a full-size business.
Yeah.
If they're in a commercial space and they're, going 100,000 plus per year in sales, then those are the people you want to listen to. They know what they're actually doing and they got there.
Yes. All right. So let's get into myth number 3. This is a continuation from last week. So we're on myth number 3. The other 2 myths are on last week's episode. Andy said you can go back and watch that on any one of our channels and check that out. And it's, do you need fancy equipment to start? Or you need fancy equipment to start? This one's brutal. I've seen people sink hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in equipment before they even grown and know they want to grow, right? They'll buy a whole bunch of trays, buy a whole bunch of racks, lights, equipment, and they haven't even grown yet. They don't know if they want to do this business. And then you'll see them online selling their business stuff 6 months later, hopefully at a discount for you. Some of them try to get retail price, so be careful of that. Make sure you check, just not buy from them. But I see that a lot as we go through. I'm sure you've seen that, Andy, people just buying a whole bunch of fancy equipment, a lot of equipment.
There was one classic one that I saw pop up in my groups. It was probably about 1.5 years ago, and the guy literally went straight into like a 2,000 square foot space, bought 30. It was at least 30 racks, set them all up. They were all empty. Set it all up, had all the lights, everything ready to go, and that was pretty much the only post I ever saw from that person. So I don't know what they ended up doing with that, but I mean, there's no reason. I mean, start small, work your way up, build it at the pace you can handle. We talk about this all the time. Don't go absolutely crazy with it and just buy a ton of stuff for no reason. I mean, you're just going to lose money. It's going to be so hard to recover from all that. So yeah, take it slow, do it at your own pace.
And I see a comment that's actually pretty good to this. If Jess wants to bring that one up. Is it still possible to grow from 1 or 2 racks to grow this business up to full scale? Yes. I think it's very possible still. That's how we started. 2 racks that didn't even fit correctly. The trays had to go back to back to fit 4 in the rack. It wasn't the perfect rack, but it was a $50 rack, right? So start with a $50 rack. Lights hung off a little bit of that. No big deal. Start growing. Whatever equipment you got, whatever you can do, start growing. Don't spend money, like we just said, a lot of money. You got to spend some. Only thing I would recommend spending good quality money on to start with is trays for equipment wise. Start 100%. With good trays. Don't get the cheap ones. You're just going to replace them. But just get some good trays. Just get a 10-pack. If you're just starting small, just get a 10-pack of them and start there. You don't have to buy 30 and 100s or anything like that. So yeah, I 100% think it's very possible to still do that. And I would recommend that as well, starting with that. Andy?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and I totally agree on the trays. I mean, we bought some kind of crappy, like Amazon trays or whatever to start. And it's one of those things you're eventually going to find your way to Bootstrap Farmer, whether you like it or not, because they have the best trays by far.
Bar none.
We just broke one the other day for the first time. We've had that tray for over 5 years, and it finally actually just broke enough to where I had to throw it away. And I mean, I've probably thrown away 7 out of the 10, probably at least 3,000 trays that we have at this point, and in 5 years of doing this. And all the ones that we've tossed were all from the original batch that we bought 5 years ago when they were made out of the country. Now they're made in the US. They're so much more flexible. We haven't broke a single one of those yet in like 3 years or whatever since they moved their operations to here. But yeah, 1000%. Start with 1 rack, 2 racks at the most. There's no reason to go crazy with it, because ultimately the biggest thing you need to learn is how to freaking grow. I mean, really, that's what you need to spend a lot of your time on before you even start going crazy with it. So get your grow down. Those 2 racks give you that opportunity to play with a variety of different things. We started out with, I think, had been close to 20 varieties. It was insanity. We bought little packs of a bunch of different stuff, which is a mistake. Don't do that. And we grew a whole bunch of things, and whatever worked, we kept. We kept rolling with that. And whatever didn't work, we're like, all right, no surprise, like cilantro, amaranth, all the tough ones that we had completely died on us. And then we moved on, and just kind of kept the ones that we were able to do. And that was how we started, so you don't need to go crazy with it. Don't spend a ton of money up front, just get what you need to get started, because you may find out, hey, you know what? I absolutely suck at growing these things. Or, hey, I absolutely don't want to do this for the rest of my life. If you invested 10 grand into it, now you're stuck with all this equipment you got to sell for half the price of what you paid for it. So, get yourself set up just super small, do it right, grow at a pace you can handle, and you'll be in great shape. So yeah, 100% you can do it with 1 or 2 racks.
Yeah, this business can be a very low cost entry based business, right? We started with less than $1,000, and that was getting the seeds, the soil, the racks that we got, the lights, everything at 5 different. We only started with 5 crops. We started with the 5 basic crops. That's what we started with. We bought 5-pound bags of them to try them. And then we bought 25-pound bags. You don't need to buy a 25-pound bag of broccoli. And then hey, I don't like to grow broccoli. I don't like to eat it. I don't want to grow this. Now you're stuck with 20 pounds of broccoli seeds that you're not going to use. So buy small, maybe not a 1-pound bag, maybe 5-pound, evaluate your money situation. Maybe we need to start with a 1-pound bag and make sure that you can grow it, and then immediately start going to the 5 and then the 25 as you grow your business. The worst thing a business ever does is they have a lot of capital out, right? You don't want all your capital out. You want to keep that money. That's how businesses fail.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and the one mistake we made in the beginning was not buying the 1-pound bag. We were buying like the 4-ounce little, like a pack you'd go buy at Home Depot or something to plant outdoors. So we had just enough like to grow 1 tray, and that 1 tray cost us like $5, $6, $7 in seed, which is stupid. So, obviously the bigger bags you can get, the more money you're going to save, but at least get a pound. I mean, no matter what, even if you find you can't sell it or grow it, at least you'll have it for the future. I mean, the seeds will last for a long, long time as long as you store them properly. Because I mean, for example, we bought, I think it was year 1. I don't know why we did this, but we bought a 25-pound bag of China rose radish, and we had it for like 2 years. Because I was like, why did we do this? This is so dumb. We thought we were going to save money, and we barely grew those trays because everybody wanted Rambo radish. So it took me so long to go through all that seed, when we first started out. So definitely, take your time. Just get small 1-pound or 5-pound if you feel good about it, and kind of start from there. Because the bigger bags you get, obviously, the more money you're going to save per tray when it comes to planting. But at the same time, you don't want to be stuck paying $500-$600 for a 25-pound bag of something. Kohlrabi, kale, those kinds are generally pretty expensive. So just keep it cheap, at least in the beginning, and make sure you got it down.
Yep. And if anybody needs help growing, you can check out our YouTube channel. We do the How to Grow series on there. You can check that out. We got a lot of good videos on there on how to grow, some basic stuff, some harder stuff, beet videos out there. I hear that's really good. Not by my words, but by that guy's over their word, to grow beets. So check out them videos to help you out. I don't recommend starting with beets at all. If you're new, start with broccoli, radishes, peas, sunflowers, maybe stuff like that. Start with radishes are easy to grow. Start with stuff like that and build your confidence, right? Everything's about building confidence, and then you get confident, then you start doing other stuff and different stuff. But start small.
Yeah, because I mean, the challenge is once you have the experience, you'll know so much more, when you actually go to plant that cilantro, go to plant that amaranth, that arugula, and you see problems, you can figure out what those problems actually, what the solution is, because you've grown so many other things and you've been like, oh, I remember when my broccoli did this, why, and what I did to fix it was this, and that's doing it now in my arugula. And, you can make
Yeah.
those adjustments on the fly, which is really nice. So that's where that experience comes in handy. And once you get that under your belt, I mean, you can really add varieties pretty quickly because you feel good about knowing that you can grow them well. But until you're diving into restaurants and stuff like that, don't bother with, the tough ones, the amaranths, the bull's blood, things like that. Just leave that out until you're ready. Cilantro
Yes.
too. Those
Yes.
are probably the 3 toughest ones.
It definitely can be. So I think from our terminology, I think I could speak for Andy on this. This myth is definitely busted. Don't start with fancy equipment. Just start with what you need and start small.
Yep.
All right. On to myth number 4. This one is one I definitely hear a lot, even from our own students in our coaching group. I hear this a lot, that there's no room left. There's somebody else in my market. We had one other member that was like, hey, you're coaching somebody that's in the same city as me. I'm like, there's plenty of room. You're not even going after grocery stores or restaurants. You're doing farmers markets and home deliveries, so they can take it to other spots. There's plenty of room. Like we said,
Yeah.
Robertson with the biggest grower right next to him in the state of Florida, and he's doing just fine out there. He's probably pretty close to them at this point in size. So it's definitely plenty of room in the market for everybody. Don't worry about if somebody's already growing your area or if somebody pops up. We've had probably in our own surrounding 50-mile radius here, we had 2 growers when we started, first off, and we still started. Second, we probably had 4 to 5 other ones pop up, and I think one of them have made it still. So they're going to pop up. They're going to go. It's like any business, you'll see restaurants pop up and then leave, pop up and leave. It's the same thing. People are going to come see the new fancy thing and think they can do it. If they're not getting proper guidance from somebody or coaching or something like that, that's usually where people fall short, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When we started, we seeked out coaching, right? And stuff. So I highly recommend getting mentors, somebody in your field. I have many mentors throughout my life, many mentors that I still have in my life and in business and everything else. You need somebody to help guide you when the things come inevitably up that's going to come up in running a business or in life in general. So definitely plenty of room out there left for everybody to be in. You don't have to get yourself into one segment. There's plenty of places to sell microgreens too that somebody else doesn't want to mess with. Like if somebody takes over home delivery stuff here, great, go for it. I don't want to do home deliveries anymore. Go for it. You can do home deliveries. That's where I would guide them to. That's a whole segment open for you. Go for that. Andy, what do you feel?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's as your business gets bigger and you start to move away, sorry, from like farmers markets, home delivery, stuff like that. I mean, there's another business that's going to take over some of those things. Obviously, there's a million farmers markets generally in most areas, so people can easily pick those up as well. And, I mean, going back to your coaching comment, I mean, my biggest competition 100% is John Hansen, who's just kind of west of Baltimore. He's got Finksburg Microgreens. Phenomenal guy. We talk all the time. He's given me business. I've given him business. If he needs seeds, we can make that connection, or vice versa. If he runs out of something or he's short on an order, we can make that connection as well. I mean, like I've gotten so many customers from him, and I've given him tons of leads in places that I don't want to go. I don't want to go to downtown Baltimore. So every time I get that opportunity, I'm like, here you go, John. Have fun driving downtown Baltimore. I'm not doing that. So, it's like one of those things where you can look at those people as competition, or you can work together to conquer. I mean, John and I definitely have the 2 biggest microgreen farms in the area for sure.
Yep.
And, but we don't overlap that much. And literally, like, there's times he's reached out to me and said, hey, have you talked to this restaurant yet? And I say, nope, go ahead. Or I'll say, yep, I'm working on him. And he'll go, okay, cool. Hands off. I'm done, which is awesome. So like we work together on a lot of that stuff, and I've coached him. So it's like, why the world would I do that if he's my main competitor? But it's nice to have him filling in other areas. We work together on a lot of things. So same boat for us. I mean, we've had tons of local growers pop up since we started. And, I've had, it was funny, but I had the store in Elkton. There was a brand new grower that literally walked in through the front door
Yeah.
and comes in with a cooler, and he sets it up on the counter. He opens this up and he's like, yeah, I want to see if I could sell my products in your store. And he's pulling out these microgreens. I'm like, you clearly have no clue who you are talking to right now.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't you come around back? Let me show you what we do here. And he was like, holy crap, you guys have like 30 racks. I was like, yeah. So, but I mean, instead of me going, you need to get the heck out of here and blah, 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 I literally gave the kid advice. Like, his product looked terrible. The packaging was really bad. I was like, you really need to improve on this if you want this to happen. So, I could have been a total jerk and cut him off completely, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, if I got business from 1% of the houses and businesses within 50 miles of my business, I'd be a trillionaire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. There's so much business out there. And if he's out there telling people about microgreens, I don't have to, if he's helping educate people that I haven't talked to yet, it's just benefiting me in the long run, because if his business doesn't survive, then I can easily take that business from him. Or if his business does well, then, both of us have to bring our product up and bring our game up to compete against each other. So, if you're worried about the quality of your product, then that's something you need to focus on. If you're worried about everything that you've got to do for your business, then that's something you really need to think about, is all those little aspects, because ultimately competition should make you better. That's really the ultimate goal. And if somebody's beating you out, then you've got to do a better job, is what it boils down to.
Exactly. Yep. And the reason why Andy didn't run that person out of there, because again, people telling about microgreens is great. Two, you don't want somebody ruining the market for you too. Like if he goes out and creates bad products and he ruins the name of microgreens, or like, oh, microgreens are disgusting, I always get them soggy or whatever, you don't want that either, in your area. So you want to give them a little advice. Statistics, 99% of businesses, I think, fell after 5 years, before 5 years. So the chances are they're not going to be around, and you will be, because you're going to listen to us, and we're going to help guide you through that and everything else. But definitely. And then here's another thing I hear a lot is, there's so many growers, I've already missed the wave. What do you think about that, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little tougher to get started, obviously, but it's, again, let's say you just decide to focus on gyms and yoga studios and, things like that. I mean, most people aren't even going to bother walking into places like that. You could literally find a niche in a niche market and still make it work. I mean, if you land a food bank account, for example, that no one even thinks about going after, you can make tons of money, on a food bank account. I mean, Mike's a perfect example of that. We are in the same boat right now. I mean, they buy a lot of product. As long as you got the space and the ability to support it, that's something that a lot of people don't even think about. So that's something you could tackle, or talk directly to smaller distributors, and try and work with them directly. I mean, there's a lot of people that are just doing farmers markets and home delivery and nothing else. They'll never think past that, and it may just be, a lot of them are doing it part-time as a side gig, or they just want to make a couple $100 extra a month or a week or whatever, so it's like, that's really what you have to focus on. If you've got a giant grower near you, I mean, Robert's a great example. This grower was massive, and he's right down the street practically from these guys, and he's pushing 70 grow racks right now at his farm. So he obviously didn't have any trouble, because he tackled right into restaurants and went from there. So it's certainly, it's very easy to do if you are confident of your product, if you could provide good, customer service, good quality, good shelf life. I mean, it's going to be easy for you. Ultimately, if you're talking to a chef and they're like, yeah, I like the guy that I have, but the product only lasts for 4 or 5 days, then that's an easy solution. You could be like, well, mine lasts for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending on what it is, or grow something that other grower isn't growing and offer that as an addition. I mean, we sell to several restaurants that buy from other growers, that they're getting stuff from them, or they were already established with them. I'm like, hey, look, that's cool. I've got all these extra things that you can get from us. And they're like, oh, I didn't know you had cantaloupe or corn or something random, so they'll tack that on. And the hope is, in the long run, I can outlive that other grower. So where he goes out of business, the chef calls me up, hey man, I just lost my guy. I need these extra 20 pounds of whatever. And then I'm like, hell yeah, let's go.
Yep.
So you just never know. I mean, if you're scared of starting, then you're already in the wrong mindset, is what it boils down to.
Yep. Yeah. Don't be scared. Plenty of room for everybody out there, no matter how big or small your town is. No one grower could service 10,000 people, right? Like, it's not going to happen. uh, that's a huge amount of people. So if you even have 10,000 people in your town, easily doable, or in your surrounding area that you can drive to. If you're in a small towns, and there's 5 or 6 small towns that add up to like 30,000 that within a half an hour each other. That's 30,000 people that are potential buyers, right? Get 1% of them a week. That's 3,000 people you're serving to a week at $20 a pop. Like, you'd be a huge farm. Huge.
Yeah. I remember watching a story, I think it was like 1 or 2 years ago. There was some farm, I can't remember what it was called. I want to say it was in like northern United States or somewhere in Canada. But they were in a town of like 1,200 people.
Yeah.
I mean, something crazy small, and their farm was massive because they had just hit like everybody in town, and they were selling to almost everybody that lived there. It was insane, but I mean, that's a great example. Like, they have a humongous farm, probably doing $250,000 plus per year, and just, in this little tiny middle of nowhere town. So it's certainly possible. It doesn't necessarily matter how big or small your town is. Obviously, it's easier with more people, but it can be done without all those people.
Just think about what area you can service, and if you serviced 1% of them, what it would do for you and your business. That's the way we looked at it. We have like 100,000 in our current town that we live in. We service bigger area than that, but even if I hit 1% of 100,000 people, like, we're gonna do well. I'm gonna need this whole plaza that we're in, not just the 4,000 square feet of it. So yeah, it's definitely money out there for sure. And to end this myth, I'll just say, don't worry about who's already selling. Worry about not serving who they've not served yet.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, you can find a niche in a niche, just find those places that aren't being serviced already and tackle those head on.
Exactly. All right. On to myth number 5. And this would be our last myth we're going to talk about. But we got other stuff we're going to have Q&A coming up as well. So if you haven't yet, make sure you like this video, help get it out to other people, because only for the live people, we will have Q&A that we will answer any questions you guys got going forward, unless something popped up about what we're currently talking about. But definitely get them questions in, and start making comments, and like this video, subscribe to both of our channels if you guys, that would be helpful for both of us. So we appreciate that as well, just to get this information out to more people. So myth number 5, restaurants only care about price. This is another mindset killer, right? Chefs only care about price. It's not true. If you go in a chef and he's like, I just get this so cheap, everything else is probably not who you want to deal with anyway. Because they're not in the right mindset of growing their business either. So I would highly recommend Billy staying away from people like that. But great chefs care about consistency, flavor, reliability, honesty, and a relationship. Probably more of a relationship than you could ever think of with a chef. Once you get to talk to them and everything else, they're going to care more about a relationship and that your product is good rather than price. Most of the restaurants we're dealing with are high-end restaurants, so they have room for their pricing to be able to handle microgreens and handle the price. But I rarely hear a chef go, oh, that's too expensive. I don't know if we've really ever heard that. I don't know about you, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even tell you how many times we've sat down with a chef for an initial conversation, and like a day or two later, we've got them signed on. They have no clue what the pricing even is. They don't care, because like they got the product. They're like, wow, this is incredible. And then they're just they don't really give a crap at that point how much it costs. I've only had one time ever, and it was a restaurant in kind of northern Baltimore, almost downtown. And it was because they were getting stuff from the company in California that will never be named on YouTube. They were getting, the product for significantly cheaper than we were selling it for. This is back when we were selling, basil and amaranth and stuff like that for $112 a pound, and never had a single chef complain about the price, because they knew it was a nightmare to harvest. It was super low, yields and all that kind of stuff. So it can be done, and in a smaller area, it's a lot easier to make those higher price sales because they don't even think about going to a distributor and trying to find out how much it costs from them. That's ultimately where we had to make some price adjustments to bring our stuff down a little bit once we started tackling bigger cities, because a lot of the bigger city restaurants are typically dealing with distributors. But there's nothing saying that you have to be cheaper than what the distributor is charging, because your product is going to be better. It's going to be delivered super, super fresh, and it's going to have a 2+ week shelf life on it. So don't feel like you have to meet or be below, what a distributor would charge. And the beautiful thing is, once you get to know a chef really well, talking about what Mike said about relationships, 2 huge pluses come out of it. Number one, that chef will bring you wherever you go. I mean, if they leave and go to another restaurant, they're going to call you up and bring you into that restaurant, which is awesome. And oh shoot, what was the second point? It was a good one too. Dang it. It fell out of my head. I should have said it first.
but yeah, relationships are key. Building a relationship, like Andy, we've had multiple chefs that have left the place they're at, and then when they go to the new place, they call us and want to get our products and everything else. It's the way you build a relationship with the chef, not necessarily the restaurant, but the chef is the key.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's ultimately who you're dealing with, no matter what. I mean, if you go into a restaurant and you end up talking to the general manager or the owner, just don't waste your time. Just, here's my information. Let me know when the chef's available.
Yeah, where's the chef?
They're literally the decision maker when it comes to food and food purchasing.
Oh yeah.
So that's definitely a huge plus. Yeah, that's always who you want to deal with. Sous chef at minimum, and executive chef at best, for sure.
Yeah, these are specialty items, so they know they're going to be more expensive than buying a head of lettuce, right? That's cheap. These are their specialty items that are just finishing off their dishes, that makes them look so much better than what anything else they have available that they can do. Besides, if they're getting microgreens or parsleys or stuff, the parsley stuff looks okay, but the microgreens is really elevated. So that plate that maybe was $30 or $40, now it's a $50 to $60 plate because it looks fancier, right? So that's why chefs are willing to pay for these products. Now, talking about beginning, as we talked about earlier about beginning, if you're just starting out, I do not recommend necessarily going for the high end. You can go for chefs, but keep it very small what you're growing. Don't be going and growing amaranth to start with, or cilantros or basils. One, they take longer to grow. Two, they're harder to grow. So you need to really be able to know that down, and you need to start getting income in, right? We want you to get income in right away. So we don't want you growing something for 4 weeks and then trying to go sample it to a chef, and then they don't want it, and then you're in a cycle of you're already a month in your business with 0 sales. With this business, you should be able to get sales within 2 to 3 weeks once you start growing, even if it's the friend and families, right? So be careful when you go to restaurants if you're going early. Don't try and grow the stuff that's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to grow. Would you agree with that, Andy?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and really, like, once you start getting into the world of chefs and grocery stores, you have to be consistent and reliable, because they're putting your stuff on the menu. Oftentimes, they'll be posting pictures and saying, hey, we're going to have this special that we had a couple weeks ago again this weekend, and it's got pictures of your microgreens in it. And then all of a sudden you show up and you're like, hey, sorry, chef, I didn't have the thing that's literally in the picture that you posted, or the thing that you already posted about your, menu and all that good stuff. But I remember my second point about relationships with the chef. And it's once you get really in with them, you can literally say, hey, chef, would you mind? Let me know what your distributors are charging for microgreens. And they'll give you that information. And they'll even potentially give you their contact for the distributors that they're working with. Then you can reach out to those people and say, hey, chef, whoever, referred me to you guys. We'd love to see, about working with you guys for microgreens. And then it's an easy in to get into another distributor. Don't go after like Cisco's and US Foods and stuff like that right off the bat. They're going to be way out of your league. You're going to need like HGAP or HGAP Plus, to even talk to those guys. So talk to the smaller ones, the little ones that are in your town, in your county, things like that. There's plenty of them. They're not going to be huge accounts, but at least it'll be an intro into that process. Oftentimes there's a lot of paperwork and things like that. It can take a year to 2 to 3 years to land a good distributor. But it's definitely worth it in the end, because they can buy thousands and thousands of dollars every single week from you, which is really cool. But again, just the benefit of having those chef relationships. But, and once you establish them, I mean, there's so many times I've had chefs text me like, oh my God, I just had a microgreen grower walk in the back door and, talk to me. And I pretty much told them, no, I'm good. So, they're stupidly loyal when the time comes. And, as long as you make it to where it's a no brainer for them, where you're reliable consistently, your customer service is awesome. If they need something last minute, you can provide it as best you can. And you're honest with them. If they ask for something, just be like, well, no, I don't have it this week, chef. I'm sorry. You need to let me know a little bit ahead of time. Stuff like that. I mean, it's, if you try and force things to happen, and then it fails as a result of trying to force it, then you're just going to end up, disappointing them in the end. So, and we're lucky to have a huge group of awesome chefs that love us to death. So, I got to give them major props for giving us a chance in the first place. And, we continue to make them happy. And that's really the goal.
Yeah, for sure. You take care of them, they're going to take care of you. It's a relationship for sure building, and they're not going to entertain somebody walking in, right? They'll be nice to them and they'll take their information and everything else, and then they'll be like, yeah, and they wanted to sell me this, and sometimes they'll be like, man, they wanted to sell me this is half the price that you're buying it at. There has to be something wrong with it.
Yeah.
So but they think about that with price too. Like, why is it so cheap? There's a reason why it's so cheap. I would never buy something cheap from somebody because it's probably not a good product.
Yeah. 100%. And the race to the bottom when it comes to pricing is just everybody's business is going to fail. So price your stuff accordingly, price it higher than you think it should be. It's easy to lower your prices. It's much harder to raise your prices, but every time we've raised our prices and I reach out to the chefs, they're like, don't even blink an eye. This is more than worth it. I'm so glad you chose to raise your price. I mean, you don't get negative feedback if your product and your customer service is good. They're like, hey, finally, I feel like you should have been charging me more this entire time.
I was just happy I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really neat. So, I mean, again, don't be afraid to raise your prices either. If you feel like you got a good product and your customer service is on point, they're more than willing to make that adjustment. So it's not that big of a deal. It's always scary to think, oh my God, I'm going to lose half my customers if I raise my price by $1. No one gives a crap. I mean, in the end, they're like, yeah, it's just more than worth it. And the people that you would lose by raising your price $1, you don't want them in the beginning. They should be more than willing to pay you what you're worth. So exactly. Don't hesitate, man. Charge what you're supposed to get. And obviously, the important thing is figuring that out. I know Mike's got a really awesome pricing sheet, he's got available. So you can go in and grab that. I think it's in your school group, right?
It's in our school group. Yeah. School.com/microgreens. Just go in there. Right now it is $5 to join that group. And once you get to level 2, so basically say hi and people like your stuff, you get to level 2, you get that sheet completely free for now on. You can download it. It's yours. We just actually get it to level 2 so we know you're not a bot or anything. If somebody's coming in stealing shit.
That makes sense.
So we just asked that, but it's really easy to get that level. And then, you can plug your numbers in there. It got labor, lighting costs, all your cost seeds, all that stuff in there. So you can actually, because I hear this all the time online. You see hundreds of times, I think, a day on Facebook groups, if you're on enough of them.
Yeah.
Should I price my microgreens this, or is this too high, or is this too low, or what should I price my microgreens at? Well, it depends. What are your inputs? My inputs are going to be different than Andy's inputs, than Robert's, and Joe's. There's all going to be different. So you want to make sure you're making money. I may be able to sell something at $5 and make a 60, 70% profit. Well, you sell it at $5, you may only get 30%. Well, that's not enough, right? So you maybe need to sell it at $6 or $6.50, because Baltimore costs is a lot different than Illinois costs, than it is California, than it is Alabama. So you just got to make sure your area is right. And a lot of it comes into electric costs, rent costs, building costs. If you're in a building and stuff are going to change and that stuff as well. So, and don't skimp on high quality stuff, guys. Yes, it's more expensive to pay high quality seeds, high quality soil if you're using that. That's what's going to make your product better. And you're going to get better yields with high quality seeds, high quality soil. So you're going to need to grow less, right? So you make more profit. So don't skimp on that stuff.
Yeah. Don't just grow your microgreens and cocoa coir by itself with no nutrients. Another big myth.
Yes. Or like we had we had a student that was doing hydroponics ish with the little green trays with the mesh and just nothing, just the mesh and growing them that. And he's like, I got a scale finally and weighed out how much broccoli I get. And for a 10-20 equivalent tray, I was getting 3 to 4 ounces.
Oh, God.
We get 16.
Yeah.
Would you spend $1 to fill a tray of soil if you got 16 ounces versus 4 ounces?
Yeah.
I think all day, every day, right?
Yeah. I remember when we first started, we tried the peas, with no soil just to see how it would go.
They grow.
That was a total disaster.
They'll grow,
well,
but
you're not going to get nearly as much. So yeah, use soil for God's sake. It's so much easier. It's a little more expensive per tray, but in the end, it's going to make you money easily, and it's way less time than mixing, nutrient solutions and all that crap. So much easier.
For sure. So much easier. All right. So just wrap this up a little bit on this myth. I know we kind of went on a little bit of tangent, but if you treat your customers like partners, they will pay for quality, and that's how business works. Any final thoughts on it, Andy?
No, I totally agree. I mean, the better quality you can provide, the better customer service you can provide. I mean, if you've got top-notch quality, top-notch customer service, it doesn't matter if you have competition. It
Yep.
really, truly does not, because that is always going to go right to the top, especially from a chef standpoint, things like that. They love good quality. They love customer service. They love that connection. Ultimately, if you can get the chef's cell phone number, I mean, that way they can text you anytime. You can text them anytime. I mean, in Urban Ag Academy, the school group that I run with a couple other guys, we've had, I think, 3 chef interviews. These are chefs I've been working with for a long time that we literally interviewed for like an hour. We had a bunch of questions we asked, and it's awesome. Like, to hear their perspective,
Yeah.
literally from a chef's perspective, that kind of information is fantastic to know. So it was a great series. I learned a lot. And the funny thing is, like, a lot of the stuff that Robert, has done in his massive career of getting into restaurants, it was all, everything he does typically was the total opposite of what the chefs actually said. They're like, oh, we hate when people walk in the back door, or whatever, things like that. So it was just kind of funny to hear like the chef's perspective on it all. But yeah, I mean, it's a really neat thing to have, but you have to have that kind of relationship with the chef to really even have that conversation in the first place.
Yep.
We've done videos, with numerous chefs. We'll go in the kitchen and, videotape them making a meal and, stuff like that. I think is one on, I don't think it's on my personal Facebook, but it's on the Fresh Source Farms YouTube channel as well. So that's out there. But yeah, it's neat when you got that relationship, because then like you'll become friends on Facebook. You'll see each other's stuff. You'll see them posting, pictures of food with your stuff on it, and you can share it, and just makes everybody happy. So it's definitely a nice plus. And I mean, there's definitely, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of chefs that are complete assholes, but most of them on average, thankfully we're in that boat, are awesome people. So we've been very fortunate, the ones that we have.
I would say it's a very small percentage that are assholes out there.
Yeah.
Chefs, probably the same percentage of the general public. So just them are people you want to deal with. Just walk back out and say, peace. I'll go on to the next one.
Yep. That's it.
All right.
Yeah. All good myths. I'm glad we've covered all these. That was a good list.
Good list of myths. So we've knocked out some big myths today, where you don't need fancy gear. The market is not saturated. There's plenty of room for everybody. Pricing isn't everything in restaurants. But the real truth is, if you got to shift your mindset if you want to grow a business that's going to last. You cannot have these things, negative thoughts in your head. You positive thoughts as you're going through. So if you're ready to stop guessing and start building, we both got blueprints. We both got coaching programs. You can seek us out. Some people like Andy better than they like me, vice versa. They want to learn from him. It doesn't matter. We just want to make sure we're helping the industry grow better and grow faster, and you guys get the business better and everything else. So don't hesitate to go. But if you want, you can join our group over at Microgreen Business Coaching, and it's school, SKOOL.com/microgreens. And right now, again, it is $5. That price is going up after today, though. So you want to get in now. Andy, anything you want to leave them with?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Like, I mean, there's plenty of coaches out there. I think we were about 7 or 8 months in, and we seeked out a coach. And it helped us kind of really dial in our program to get into restaurants and grocery stores and things like that. So, there's plenty of people out there. And again, like we mentioned earlier, look for somebody who's been doing this for a while, that knows what they're doing, that has an established business, preferably somebody who's doing it full time, because they were willing to actually take that risk and walk away from a guaranteed paycheck, and do this for real. So, you can find our coaching, freshsourcefarms.com. You can find Mike's coaching at Itty Bitty Micro Farm. Go to our YouTube channels. We both have a lot of good content. Mike's been doing YouTube for 3-4 years now. You have tons and tons of great videos, so definitely check out, especially the growing videos. The beets video literally saved our life when it came to growing beets, because I sucked at it so bad. And then they released their beets video, and we followed that to a T since then. So I got to give him credit for us being able to grow beets well. So there's plenty of good stuff out there, but definitely focus on the people who are doing this well and doing it full time. Those are the guys you want to seek for advice, for sure.
Awesome. Yep. Again, guys, we will be doing a live Q&A. If you're here live, make sure if you're not here live, you're watching this replay, make sure you show up live. It's every other week. So 2 weeks from now, we'll be back again with the next podcast episode. And we take live Q&A at the end of this and everything else. So if you're here live, start putting your comments in now. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you guys all the way. And we'll see you in the next one.